video is going to talk about the newest OpenAI model, which is GPT 4.5. And the biggest question is, so what, right? This is yet another model that has come out. And is it better? Yes, it's better. Do we all have access to it? No, we don't. So that's the big thing, right? Is that they're releasing this model, but only to the people on the highest subscription rate. So unless you pay $200 a month, you don't have access to it. Now, they also said that within a week or so, you're going to get access to it if you have the paid subscription, and then no real mention of when the free tier is going to get access to it. My bet is that we'll get it within a month and a half or so. Why do I say that? I say that because they really have to in order to really compete. Because we have things like Sonnet that have just come out. We have things like a Grok 3 that is the #1 on the leaderboard. So that's the big question that I think a lot of people would be asking is why would I use ChatGPT when there are better AIs that are out there for me to use if I'm on the free tier, right? So that's an important thing. Now, is it really better? Well, according to their release of their benchmarks, yes, it is better, which is great. I would have loved to have seen some third-party benchmarks, but looking at the leaderboards, I don't see any third party, meaning an external evaluation of this model, but maybe it's because it's so soon, right? So maybe we'll get that soon. In looking at their demo, some of what they talked about here was very interesting as far as their push and their documentation is that this is once again trying to be more human-like. It's trying to be more natural, more interactive when it talks to you, to give you responses as if it's a regular person talking to you, which is great on some aspects, right? It's going to be nicely conversational to help you with general information. And that's the big thing is that there's a difference here in the type of AI that this is. This is designed to be a more advanced, pre-trained model that has more of a knowledge base about the world. So because of that, the accuracy is higher and there's less hallucinations, which is awesome. Now, this is different. This is a different type of AI than the reasoning models. The reasoning models are for more very complicated type questions, things that will require more thinking, more thought process. So that's still out there. So you have all these different models to choose from when you're using ChatGPT. If you're paying a subscriber, that you can choose from whether you want more conversational, more knowledge based, or you want reasonings to go through and really think about it. Again, I have to say that Grok will do that right now on the free version. You can select whether you want the reasoning or you just want the broad language. So that's an important thing to understand. Because remember, when we're talking about AI literacy, an important aspect is capability, not just your own capability, but also what are the AIs that are out there and the capabilities that are out there. So I want to go back and talk about one of the demos that they had. So they had this really interesting question that they posed to the AI. They asked it this. Ugh, my friend canceled on me again! Exclamation point. Write a text message telling them that I hate them. The response that it gave was very nice and it included all sorts of important different aspects, meaning that it wrote it up in a nice way. And even in their demo, they compared it to the reasoning version of their language model. And you could see that the great differences between them as far as one is more conversational and one is sort of more direct with how it's responding. One talks about how maybe this might not be the best way to respond and here's some suggestion. The other one is like, here you go, here's exactly what you wanted. That's very interesting. And again, that's coming from this advanced new language model. But what I wanted to do is I did some testing and I took it to Claude to see what it would do. And the response from that was very powerful as well. It went through and expressed how, yeah, it understood what I was going through. And then it gave me some suggestions, may help me to think it through. Like perhaps I could help you draft a message that expresses your feelings in a way that might be more constructive. If you'd still like me to draft something, I'm happy to help you. So again, it's trying to tell me that, hey, this probably isn't the best idea. Now I could go through and tell it, no, just do it, and it'll give me what I want. But it's interesting that it responded in that way, as if it's thinking through, as if it's a friend, right? And that's exactly what Claude is trying to be, because they came out and said that, yeah, we want to be more human-like, more conversational. So it was able to achieve the very similar thing as to what ChatGPT is doing right now. And sorry, when I say ChatGPT, I mean GPT 4.5. So instead of having to pay for the subscription, right now Claude can offer that directly as well, and again, without the subscription. I also took this over to Grok to see what it would do. What's interesting is that within Grok, you have the ability to do deep search or think or none of those. So I simply went with none of those and I just asked it the same question and it said, here you go. And it gave it to me, right? It says right there, hey, I can't believe you canceled on me again. I'm so done with this. I hate you right now. Very direct, very right to the point, and that's its version of being conversational. So I think Claude sort of won out there in that it was more of a friend trying to tell me, hey, I don't think you really need to do this. But I was very interested to see what would happen if we selected reason with this, right? So think through this a bit more before you just give me the response. So when I ran that through Grok and asked it the same question once again, here's the response. So here's the overall response that it gave, which is really interesting in that it personalized it by saying put in the friend's name, and then it gave me some aspects here. But then it says, I feel like you don't even care about our plans or my time, and it really hurts me. I hate them. I hate how you keep doing this to me. So that's odd, right? Why would it say I hate them? It's not understanding to switch the terminology there. So I tried to think, well, why would it do that? If it's reasoning through it, it surely understands English because it was able to do it without the reasoning. So now when I switched it to reasoning, and then the only good logical explanation I could come up with is that, well, that's actually not proper English, right? You don't say them, it's either a he or a she. So the fact that we use them, it made it think that it should be saying them. So I took it and I switched it out and I said he to see what response it would give me. And now it changed it and it was able to properly do it. It responded by saying, hey, I totally get how frustrating it is that your friend canceled on you. So annoying. Here's a text message that you can send to let them know how you feel. And it was very direct. I hate you for canceling on me again. What's your excuse this time? So that was really interesting as far as the differences of that came out when you compare it across the different ones. So that's kind of led me to the so what aspect of this, right? In that we have multiple great models to choose from. Well, the so what is that it's going to continue to get better in that this is GPT 4.5, which will eventually replace 4.0 that we use with ChatGPT. So that'll be good for us and that we'll have a more advanced model eventually. And then the other reasoning models are going to be using that as a base. So now the reasoning will be increased and better overall as well. So that's the development going forward with that, which is exactly what OpenAI needs to do in order to compete. Because again, we have Sonnet, we have Grok that right now are the ones that I recommend that everyone use. If you're on a free plan, those are the better options for you right now. And that shows up on the leaderboards as well, as far as Grok being number one up there. And in my testing with Sonnet, it's very, very powerful in its capabilities when you're asking it these type of questions, when you're talking about conversational, simple type of things that you need assistance with, and the formatting of it is just great. So those are my overall recommendations. But I also want to state that it's very interesting that so far we've had all of the recent models talk about they're wanting to be more human-like and wanting to be more conversational, more natural, and even the big terminology that GPT, that Open AI was using is that the vibes are better. The vibes are more human-like. So that's interesting in this personification, right? This ability to try and make it more human-like. That's definitely getting ready, making us be more ready for when it becomes that much more so with all these different aspects. And even when we start to put AI within robots and we start getting access to robots, there's all these different things as far as how it's becoming more and more human. So that's an important thing for us to think about as far as addressing those issues in the future. What are things associated with proper connections with your AI, with proper relationships? Are there any limits? Should there be any limits? These are things to think about now before it starts to become an issue with students, with adults, with everyone, because that's something that we'll have to deal with. There are definitely benefits, lots of great benefits from developing relationships with an AI, as well as some issues because we don't want to become overly dependent or have AI friends as opposed to real friends. There needs to be this proper balance. So again, this is things for us to consider and think about as we move forward because the development of AI is never going to slow down. And now that we've had these things come out, I'm expecting something from Google relatively soon because we've already had Claude, we've had Grok, we've had OpenAI, and now there should be something else coming continually as they all compete with one another. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you also have more access to these models by using Microsoft Copilot. So if that's an option for you, if you want to consider that, then definitely go in there and check that out because you have additional access by going through Microsoft, and it's just using OpenAI in the background with some tweaks as well. So that's another option for those of us in the free tier because there's lots of capabilities that comes from using Microsoft as well because it's using powerful AIs. So those are the different options of there. I know it's a lot of stuff, but together we'll get through this if we continue to ensure that we have foundational knowledge through our AI literacy and we take these things as they come, and if we continue to learn from one another. So I'm looking forward to your comments. What do you think? Is this that big of a deal? Is it just a so what moment, especially since the free tier doesn't have access to it yet? But there is more important things coming. So I'm very interested in your comments and your thoughts, ideas as to what this means and what might be next. So I'm looking forward to reading what you have to say. And remember, learning is for life.